Ladies and gentlemen, I have some good news and I have some bad news. Let's start off with the bad news first. The bad news is prices continue to drop. The crash is continuing. But the good news is that literally within the last 3 minutes, the Bitcoin CME gap that we have been talking about now on this channel for a couple of weeks did officially just close. Go to my screen here really quickly because I want to show you guys and make sure we're doing this correctly. Now it closed. So it doesn't really matter what you thought the bottom was. I do want to do a little education here. Some people believed it would close from this candle back in here. They looked at the wick and said, oh, we'll close. We drop below 91,975. Not how that works. To close this candle, we did have to close below where the candle back here on April 22nd closed for the day on Friday before the Monday candle opened higher. We had to drop all the way down to $91,660 per coin. Well, it doesn't matter though. Whether you thought it was higher, whether you thought it was lower, we did just again in the last 3 minutes, wick down below, officially closing the CME gap from way back in April of 2025. Now, like I said, good news and bad news. The bad news is we keep falling. Good news is that is closed. What does this mean, though? Will we start to see a reversal come in now as we are approaching some of the lower levels that we said were absolutely doable, staying inside a bull market? Stick around for the entire show. We got a lot to break down with the charts, with the news, with conversation. Make sure right now you guys go vote on the poll. Are you afraid? What is your answer right now as you are looking at these major discounts? Also, in chat right now, just to have fun, everybody put in their favorite candy. I was on a road trip this weekend, and my wife was grilling me about my favorite type of candy. So I figured, you know what? Why don't I ask the people? What's your favorite type of candy? Put that in chat. I'll read some interesting comments here. I am joined, as always, by the boys. I got Shrum. I got Smay. How are we feeling today, guys? I know prices are down, but how are our feelings?
Tim, first and foremost, I would really love to hear at some point in the show what your favorite candy is and why you were being grilled. But
Yeah.
Tim, I'm doing great, and I'm just excited to take advantage of, life and the markets.
There we go. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Shrum, how about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Some might say better than I deserve. It is almost time for me to leave the great Commonwealth of Virginia. You'll see on my hat, I actually got to go down to Williamsburg and spend a little time in the historic town there. It was a really cool place. I liked it quite a bit. But now it's time to journey back to the Great South and have some more analysis there. But yeah, my favorite candy is Reese's.
Ooh, Reese's. Good candy. It's kind of boring. It's right out there. Just chocolate and peanut butter. Just go ahead and throw it. But it's a classic for a reason, so I can't diss on it too much. Mine's worse than that. You're actually people are gonna make fun of my favorite one. I have not seen anyone say it in chat. Smay, what's your favorite candy?
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and guess your favorite candy is candy corn.
Wow, that actually is the worst candy. So close, but not that.
Okay.
No.
It's probably licorice then. And so with that, I'm going to say my favorite candy is, I really like Swedish Fish if I'm like going for a fruity something or if I'm going for a chocolate something. Okay. I really like Almond Joys.
All right. You know what's crazy there, Smay? I did not know that about you. We might have more in common than I thought because my favorite candy is Swedish Fish. Don't ask me why. I have no idea because there's not a whole lot going on there. But there's just something about Swedish Fish. It's not doing too much. It's not doing too little. It's got that fruity, gummy quality. It's a solid candy. You guys can make fun of me in chat if you think that's ridiculous.
Let me just say something about Swedish Fish though. They are potently sugary. And one time I had some in the airport, and it immediately activated my the adrenaline rush of having way too much sugar at once. So be careful with those Swedish. A little bit that goes a long way. Okay, a little bit goes a long way.
You only need a couple of them, guys. Let's get into the charts now. Again, you guys can drop your favorite candy. Tell me what you think about my favorite candy. As I just said, if you're just now joining us, literally 2 minutes, 3 minutes before the show went live, We filled the CME gap from back in April. People have been talking about this for a long time. We had a lot to break down on the chart today, a lot to break down in the news. I want to start off with Bitcoin, talk about some things. One thing I want to do today's show, you guys make sure smash the like and hit subscribe if you guys are ready for this. I'm going to give you guys a list of reasons. I'm at 8 right now. I'm probably going to have to build on this next couple days. I kind of was just working through it this morning. 8 reasons that I do not believe the top is in for the crypto cycle. So stick around if you're ready for that. With that said, though, I still have to address the charts. And I'm going to start off by telling you, I'm not going to sit here and promise you guys or try to tell you the bottom for sure is in, but I did want to make it very clear. We have officially removed the CME gap from back here in April of 2025. So take that good news for what it's worth. The bad news is that Bitcoin keeps dropping. And in fact, the bad news is that there was some pretty solid support that Bitcoin was kind of dealing with, a zone of support that we have broken down below today. You guys can see here very clearly these green levels of support we've been trending in, they did get lost today. Now, will this end up being a bullish day? Will we see a super long wick to the downside and we shoot back up and that support stands? It's not time to delete these support levels on the charts, but it is something to realize we have lost support on the daily chart here for Bitcoin. That daily buy signal we talked about last week, I'll tell you guys, when I'm right about things, I'm going to tell you that I'm right. When I'm wrong about things, I'm going to tell you that I was wrong. It turns out this has been invalidated. It is kind of coming back to the downside. Worse things worse. I was kind of hoping maybe after getting this buy signal back here last week, maybe we'd see some bullish divergence. No, we didn't get bullish divergence either. The RSI has gone lower now. So we have invalidated this daily buy signal. This is a problem. I still don't regret buying some and entering a trade back here. We did still make money on the trade if you're in the VIP trading group because we hit our TP1 on this rally when Bitcoin made it back up towards 107 almost. But we didn't get our full trade, and the reason why is because we did invalidate this trade. And now, once again, we're in a spot where we're looking for a daily buy signal. You guys can see here on this indicator, we had a great buy signal back here in October. We had another great one back here in September. Both of these were very successful in making their way back up to the smart trails, giving us very easy trades to make money on in the last couple of months. But like I said, this one, guess what? We did make it to my TP1 level, hit the order block. Didn't make it all the way up to the smart trail up back towards 113, so it was a failure. Now we're sitting here once again looking and saying, when will the bottom finally come in here? Let's talk about that a little bit here. And I just gave you a level, something I got wrong. We got wrong. The daily buy signal came in, did not give us a move back up to 113. Some of you, though, who have been watching for a while know that we've talked about lower $90,000 levels for quite some time. Were we hopeful? Were we buying dips back at 106 and back here at 100? And was I buying some more the other day around 95,000? Sure, I was DCAing in. And guess what? I just had another DCA trigger today that I set up over a month ago, all the way down at 92,000. But I want to be very clear and get more specific now that we actually get into the details and we're below that $92,000 level. Just where is the support sitting? How much lower could we go and stay in a pretty bullish trajectory, right? When you look at the chart like this is a freak out chart, right? I understand why people right now are screaming and getting all upset about everything and saying, oh my gosh, Tim, the bear market's here. We're done. It's going to be horrible. What do I always say, guys? What do you do before you freak out? You zoom out. When you zoom out, it's really not that bad. It really isn't that bad. When you look at this right now, Bitcoin is down merely, and I say merely because it's really not the big deal. It's only down 27% at the moment. Just so you guys are very aware, even in this bull run so far, we have watched Bitcoin drop 32% back here in 2025. In 2024, we saw Bitcoin prices collapse 33%. Even all the way back here, back in August of 23, we saw Bitcoin prices correct. How far? That was actually only 21%. So that's not as big as the other two. But you guys can see here, we've had several large corrections on Bitcoin and still maintain the higher high and higher low trajectory of a bull market. I want to also remind people, some people are saying, but Tim, it's so bearish. The bears are telling me certain indicators were broken and now we have to drop to the downside. Guess what? That's the same thing they were saying back here. That's the same thing they were saying right here. I'm not telling you it's impossible to drop to like 70 or 60 or 50K, but I'm telling you, it still isn't my most likely outcome at this point in time. One of the reasons why is because, again, there's two things that we absolutely prepared you for on this channel. Number one, I prepared you for a pullback in October. I told you guys, even though I don't believe the 4-year cycle was intact, I said, don't be surprised if there's close to a 30% correction in October. Where I was wrong, I want to be very clear on this because there's part I'm right, part of it I'm wrong. I made this prediction, by the way, back in the summer of this year. I thought Bitcoin would be a whole lot higher. I thought Bitcoin would be more towards 150, 175 before that 30% correction. So I missed the number about how high Bitcoin would get. But right now, I still believe we are extremely close to a bottom. As we're at 27% down, we could go a little bit further. And that's where we are seeing some support kind of coming in here. There's a couple indicators I want to kind of take your attention to. We filled the CME gap. I've been talking about that pretty much the whole show already, so I don't need to show you the CME gap. That has been filled. Let's take a look at our Fibonacci retracement levels. Let's go to the lows here back in April of 2025. Let's go to the all-time highs we had back here in October of 2025. And you're going to see right now, we have just kissed here on Bitcoin after we dropped down here towards 91.2. We have now kissed into the golden pocket formation on Fibonacci. This is historically a very good, strong support level. You also could see this drop as low as down here towards 89.8, give or take, because that's the bottom of this golden pocket zone. This, though, in theory, should be a very strong support level. Match that with maybe some liquidations we're also kind of watching right now on the Bitcoin chart. We've seen these liquidations down here towards 91.5, even as low as 89.8, since all the way back here in April around that CME gap. So in a nutshell, there still is all these support levels we've been watching here for a while, and they are sitting here in play. After that, you can see, at least on the daily chart, there really aren't any strong liquidations below us as far as the daily chart is concerned. Sure, I could probably go up to the weekly chart and we could find some pretty juicy ones. Here's a big gap down here at 81. There's a really, really, really big number down here towards 32,000, give or take. But it would take a whole lot to press prices down that far. At the moment, as we are watching today unfold, I would keep my eyes between where we currently are and, again, down towards that 89.8, where there is some liquidations. There is the bottom of the golden pocket, and there's some good. I think there's also, let me turn on some other indicators here. I think when you go down here towards the 12-hour chart, we have a nice order block sitting in this camp here as well. Give me a second to let that load. That one actually, the order box a little lower, coming in down here towards 87.6. But either way, there's a lot of support in this area, but there's some other reasons to think that support level should be close. And I want to make sure before I get into this indicator, I'm not saying that this guarantees you the bull market's coming back, right? I still think a bull market is here, but I'm talking to you right now. I'm not conveying my opinion on this. I'm conveying charts, what history says charts do, and this indicator should have you, at least for the next couple of days to next couple of weeks, bullish. Whether we hit a new all-time high on Bitcoin or whether we put in a lower top and this is simply a dead cat bounce, you do not want to ignore right now on the daily chart, we just officially, within the last day and a half, have confirmed the death cross on the CME or the SMAs of the daily chart. This is where the 50-day SMA crosses below the 200. Now, you might be saying, Tim, we did that the other day. We're still dropping. Well, when you look at the history of this, it's never, or I'm going to say almost never the exact day. For example, the last death cross actually happened back here on April 6th. We wouldn't bottom out until the 7th and then double bottom on the 9th. So it took a couple of days. Over here, if you go back over to this death cross that we had back here in August on the 8th, we actually had the big bottom come in a couple of days before. So it's not that this death cross marks the exact day of the bottom, but it's within the last couple of days or the next couple of days that you're looking for a major V bottom and a correction to the upside. Now, you might be saying, Tim, that's just the bull market, right? We've seen already in this bull market 3 different death crosses that marked almost the exact bottom to the day. Let's take a look at the bear market, though. This is where we did have, at the beginning of the bear market back here in 2022, we did have a death cross that was came just days before a major bottom signal and then a multi-month, right? We rallied from January into late March, bullish momentum, put in a lower high. You can call it a dead cat bounce. It was part of a bear market, but the point still stands. Death crosses historically, whether you believe we're in a bull market or a bear market, they at least mark temporary bottoms. Do we see new all-time highs or do we see a lower high? That's what we have to continue to unpack as the next couple of weeks unfold. But anyone buying right now, even if you're just buying for a short-term trade to take profit, let's say potentially back up towards $110,000. I'll explain why that number is significant in a second. Let's just say you're looking for a short-term trade. This is a good time as we're sitting close to support. We have an historical temporary bottom signal coming in. Everyone should be looking for a bounce to come in. Well, let's look at, for example, here in the bear market. For example, Bitcoin, after getting this death cross, would rally, like I said, from late January to late March. It would rally roughly 46%, almost 47% back up here towards the 200 SMA. I'm not thinking that Bitcoin has a 40% or a 47% rally left in it, but let's just pretend, let's go half that, and let's take a look. What would happen right now if Bitcoin were to repeat the bear market of 2022? What if it did have a nice bounce? We're double the price, so let's go ahead and say, let's just look for a 20% rally. A 20% rally and a return to the 200-day SMA, just like 2022, excuse me. What would that mean for Bitcoin's price? That would mean, now that we've touched these levels, we would get a 20% rally. Look at that. 200-day SMA right now is 21% higher, sitting at 110,300. Okay, I probably would take profit a little bit lower than that, but you get my point here. I'm talking to the bulls. I'm talking to the bears. I don't care what your thoughts are. What we're looking at right now would imply that we should make a good move back up over the next couple of weeks. The question comes down to, do you think we'll see a new all-time high and we'll break 126, or do we get rejected there at 110 and begin a long bear winter? I'm going to give you my opinion here in a second, but I want to give the fair charting, the fair analysis so that you can decide for yourself. Do you want to sell at 110? Do you want, you don't even have to buy right now. If you don't like the analysis, if you don't like the history that I'm doing, where I'm showing you these death crosses, mark bottoms, and looking at the support we're coming into right now, you can decide for yourself. I'm just saying the charts are suggesting that you buy. The charts are suggesting that you long, and it doesn't really matter if you're a bear or a bull. Both people should have the opinion we should see a bounce right here very, very soon. There's a little more I could probably get into here as to things that I think are bullish and bearish, but I think I really kind of hit the big details happening. One thing I'll caution you, just look out for it. I do think the weekly chart's starting to look kind of advantageous. We are starting to get some signals that lower time frames are turning bullish here, suggesting something could be coming soon for the weekly chart. The oscillator is getting back down towards low levels we've had this whole bull market, right? These are something to pay attention to. We're back down into oversold territory. The money flow has now been red for a couple of weeks, and it's not rounding over, so I'm not predicting a buy signal next week. I think this could take a couple of weeks before it comes in, but I think that weekly chart is one to watch. We have green reversals coming in. We have these things coming. We're back down to the historical low levels. If we start to turn and go sideways with this oscillator, history on this bull market so far would say this is a great time to buy as well. But we'll keep you updated on what those are saying. Let's look at a couple other things. Well, you know what? Let's not look at other things until I get into my list. Go full screen with me real quick here, Smay. I think it's a good time to just go ahead and jump in on this, and then we'll get into some news stories, get Shrum on here. We will have time today, I would assume, for some good Q&A. So stick around, ask questions in chat. I honestly, I don't care if you're bearish, if you're bullish. I don't care if you think I'm a genius or you think I'm a clown. Thank you for watching. Well, thank you for being here, giving us your time, giving us your energy. We take that very seriously. So whether we're right or wrong, we always try to put forth our best effort to giving you guys daily analysis on what's happening. You might agree, you might disagree. Take responsibility for your own decision. I'm not your financial advisor, but thank you so much for watching right now. I encourage you, please smash like and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Let's go into some reasons here. I have 8 of them. I want to make sure I have the number right. I have 8 reasons I want to get into that I am still very bullish, and I don't believe the top is in. Now I want to be fair. In the next couple of days, I'm working on another list. I am working on my concerns. I'll have another list that I'll tell you, hey, these are things that I don't like about the market right now and mean we could be entering into a winter, okay? But I want to start off positive. I'll cover that in a couple of days. For right now, I want to talk about the positives and the reasons why I don't believe the bull market top is in just yet. And I'm not going to just quote other people. These are things that I believe will happen that will mark a top, and not a single one of them is showing me we're ready to be done. Number 1, we have not seen retail euphoria. Now, before you say, Tim, well, that's something that happened with the 4-year cycle, and you've been saying the 4-year cycle is done. No. The retail euphoria has long preceded crypto markets. Retail euphoria is simple people like you and me who are uneducated, who don't know much about markets, but watch extremely crazy high price action jump in like idiots at the top. That has not happened in the crypto market yet. Nothing like what happened back in 2021. Part of that is because I think that we have actually seen institutions do a pretty decent job of keeping people out. I see Eric, one of our favorite bears. I love Eric Wallen because he's in here every day disagreeing with me, but he comes up every day. He's one of our mods. See, that just proves right there we're one of the fairest channels. We made one of our haters our mods. And I know he's a hater in chat. He loves us as a people. So, Eric, we love you as well. He says retail is broke. 100%. I agree, Eric. Get to that point here in a second. But in a nutshell, the way markets work, and not just crypto, massive markets in general, the wealthy buy the dips. The smart money buys the dips. They run it up. They convince people, retail investors, that it's time to finally jump in. When do they do it? They do it when they want to sell. Because if I have all the stock and I have the majority of it and I go to hit sell on everything because I want to take profit, if there's no buyers up at the top, then by the time my sell signals finally get done, I have lost money. I'm back down below maybe even some of my entries. So what a wealthy individual, what an institution and a composite man guy has to do is they have to convince dumb retail investors to be the exit liquidity. So they pump the markets, they pump the news. It's going to be bullish, 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 bullish. And then retail floods in like crazy. YouTube views will shoot up on every single financial channel. You'll get texts, even some of you watching who have been invested for a while, you'll get texts from people that don't text you very often asking which are the best coins to be buying right now. That has not been happening. There is no massive retail euphoria. And so therefore, there's been no massive exit liquidity just yet for institutions to take profit on. Instead, I've actually seen a lot of retail investors taking profits, which again, I predicted because most people still think the 4-year cycle is intact and they just wanted to take profits. And ultimately what's going to happen, in my opinion, institutions buy at the dip and we take off. But I want to come back to my list. Number one, argue with me in chat if you disagree, but I have not seen retail euphoria. And that is the excuse of every bull market, crypto, stock market, whatever you want to call it. You got to have massive euphoria to have idiots buy the top. That has not happened just yet. Number two reason I do not believe that the top is in just yet, and this one we'll have to go look at a chart here in a second, May, so be ready. But the Bitcoin dominance chart is dropping, not climbing. Why? Because we never had a full-blown altcoin season, but more specifically, the Bitcoin dominance chart, this is going to be very important to watch because it is going to be what tells us that Bitcoin is ready to climb. Take a look here. And this has nothing to do with necessarily the 4-year cycle. It has to do with when Bitcoin prices are climbing on the macro scale versus when Bitcoin prices are falling on the macro scale. During bull markets, we see this drop dramatically. Think about back in early 2021 into May, and then throughout the rest of the year into, the bull market lasted kind of here into late 2020, late 2021, early 2022. You can see here during a bull market, we see the bull market start off with Bitcoin dominance topping, Bitcoin dominance collapsing. And then as we start to make a bear market approach, Bitcoin dominance starts to shift back to the upside. Now, there was some issues back here in 2022. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on. But in a nutshell, you found your bottom at the top of the bull market. And after the top is in, Bitcoin dominance begins to climb. The same thing can be said when you go back here to 2017. You look at it. Bull market was February 2017 all the way until December. What happens? Bitcoin dominance was collapsing. And then bull market top is in. We start a bear market in January 2018. Bitcoin dominance begins a grand climb. What have we seen happen so far? Well, we have not seen any grand collapse in Bitcoin dominance. You've seen a little pullback right in here, but this is nothing to write home about. Ultimately, I still believe for a bull market to take effect, we're going to see Bitcoin dominance collapse at least down here towards 50%. Maybe we could make a move towards 45. But in a nutshell, this does not set up anything that makes me believe that the top is in because assets have not transferred into the other altcoin space, which kind of leads me into reason number 3. Go ahead and go off my screen here, Smay. Altcoins have pretty much been sideways or in a bear market the entire year of 2025, right? I think the 4-year cycle is broken, been broken, dead and gone. With that said, though, anyone who's saying, well, Tim, we're about to enter into a long bear market, Yeah, sure, Bitcoin just hit a new all-time high in October, but let's be honest, 2025 has not really been that special of a bull run here for Bitcoin. It definitely has not been special for the altcoin space. With the exception of Ethereum and a couple outliers, the majority of the altcoin space is dramatically down from December highs of 2024. What does that mean? It means we're coming up on almost an entire year of no all-time highs for the majority of altcoins out there. It's kind of a bear market right there, which means altcoins, along with a very high Bitcoin dominance, kind of suggest they're ready in the near future to take off themselves. Let's keep going, though, because there's other reasons. I'm just going to kind of sit there. You guys in chat, argue with me. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm an idiot. But that's my point. That's my opinion. That's what I'm saying. Number 4 reason I don't believe the top is in is that liquidity has still not come. Why is this so important? If you go back, again, we're very fair here. We're right about things. We're wrong about things. Was I right about how bullish 2025 would be? No, I was not. Was I right in my price predictions of how high things could get by the end of the year? No, I was not. I'm not going to sit here and lie to anybody and tell them I called this entire market, because I didn't. I got things wrong. But what did I tell people back in January would cause the bull market to start and to go explosive? There were 2 things. This is one of them. One of them was we have to see added liquidity. We have to see money coming back in willing to be spent. And as we've been watching and processing through this whole year, while the M2 money supply has continued to climb, being under a state of quantitative tightening, delaying the rate cuts from the Fed has caused America to be very, very suppressed, and that just is about to be unlocked. I'll talk about that here in a second. But in a nutshell, we've been restricting liquidity. We have not been allowing money to flow. Earlier, Eric Wallen said, Tim, retail is broke. I know retail's broke. You want to know why? Because we don't have liquidity flowing. So again, while I was wrong about 2025 being bullish, I was right when I said it will resume when liquidity comes back. I just assumed, like an idiot, that our government would get that done quickly. That's why I said I'm an idiot. The fact that I thought the government could do something quickly proves to you that I'm an idiot, but I still stand by my original statement. Wait for liquidity to start flowing back into the markets, and we will watch the bull market resume. What does that lead to? Have these out of order. I'm going to skip number 5, come back to it. That means here in December, what's going to cause liquidity? Quantitative tightening will be ending. This is something that has been announced by the Fed already. And even though they haven't made this announcement, it's only logical to understand that quantitative easing will come very soon. Whether the current Fed members will vote to start quantitative easing, or whether we have to wait until early 2026 when Trump gets to appoint a new chairman and several new members, this will bring on not only what I'm about to say in a second with rate cuts, but it will bring quantitative easing. It'll take us out of a multi-year time period of quantitative tightening, pulling liquidity from the markets, and it'll start to dump money back on, as well as a lot of money printers. That is something, I don't know about you. I cannot sell these assets this low right before they're about to pump money into the markets that gives the retail investors money to finally go in on some of these asset classes. So quantitative tightening is ending for sure. Quantitative easing coming very soon. By the way, that kind of goes into effect. I know people are freaking out right now about December and whether the Fed is going to cut rates. Right now, I think, let's go look at this real quick, Smay. I want to get the up-to-date right now answer. We still have a 52% probability on Polymarket that we will stay paused in December, right? This is part of the reason why I think prices are coming back. People are freaking out. I'm not convinced this will stay, right? We still have almost a full month until the Fed meeting, which is called the FOMC. But whether we get a rate cut in December or not, if you think that we're done cutting rates, you're just kidding yourself. More rate cuts will come. You add that with quantitative tightening ending. You add that with impending quantitative easing coming. You add that with the fact that we keep spending money with the U.S. government like idiots, and we're going to keep printing that money printer on. We're going to see massive money coming in, backing up that liquidity statement I've been making. Number 5, though, I'm going out of order. Let's call this number 7. Number 7 was the second reason. Early this year, I said we would have a bull run. I said we have to get liquidity, and I said we have to have clear regulation. Why do we have to have clear regulation? Because the bull market is no longer being controlled by the retail investor. It is being controlled by institutions. Now, they'll take advantage of the retail investor for exit liquidity, but the institutions are going to be the ones with the big money to make the big moves happen. While some institutions have gone out on a limb and stuck their toes into the water to buy some of these assets, and they're extremely excited about the future of them, we have not seen the masses of trillions of dollars that will flow into crypto over the next couple of years start just yet. And the reason why is because these large institutions know that they need to wait for proper regulation before they go big into this new asset class. Guess what's happening here very soon? We will have a bill voted on by members of Congress and the Senate about getting some very clear regulation on paper for the crypto space. This will unlock a lot of money from institutions along with liquidity to make the markets go a boom. That's reason number 7, my last reason. The economy's been shaky all year. We have been up and down with tariffs. We've been up and down. Are we in a recession? Are we not in a recession? Now we have this, we have this whole chaos about housing markets and these 50-year mortgages, which, by the way, are terrible long-term. But let's not kid ourselves. That will allow more people to buy homes right now. If you're worried about the economy right now because of 50-year mortgages, you're thinking about it wrong. That's a problem that we are kicking down the road and is going to be a problem in the next 5 to 10 years. And at some point, we're going to have to face the consequences. But more people being able to buy homes, more people being able to borrow money, more liquidity coming in, more regulation coming in will boost the economy that has been questionable at best throughout this year. I know the stock market's gone boom, but people are in constant fear the economy is in trouble. I still believe that 2026 will be a massive year for the U.S. economy. And when that happens, I do believe we will see massive upticks in crypto prices. Does that mean that there's no more problems in the future? No, I think that mortgage crisis is going to be, I think 5 to 10 years now, we're talking about another bubble being formed in the housing market. I think there's a chance we repeat our sins of 2007, 2008, and we have another collapse. But again, that's not something that's being set up for 2026. Something being set up probably for 2030 to 2035, if I had to guess. Would love to get an expert's opinion on that someday on the show. In a nutshell, though, that's my 8 list. Those are my 8 reasons. There's probably more out there that I need to add to this list, but those are my 8 biggest reasons I am still convinced the top is not in. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Someone said go check the charts. I don't think the charts are doing anything necessarily too spiffy or special. Let's go take a look at them real quick, and then I'm going to throw it over to Shrum for our news on the day. If you guys are just joining us, Bitcoin did drop. It closed the CME gap. Here on, I think this is Coinbase, we've touched now 91,128. I gave levels earlier in the show that I think we could go a little bit lower. What I love seeing, though, and I want to see how this plays out, I love seeing this. I love seeing an uptick in volume right here. A lot of times upticks in volumes can mark at least short-term bottoms, and eventually one of them is going to be a longer-term bottom. Does this mean the bottom's in? No, it doesn't. It just means as we're hitting some pretty key support levels, as we're breaking through some major signs we've been talking about for a while, and we're looking at things like a daily death cross that historically is bullish, it's hard not to think that the next couple of weeks at least are going to be bullish. Again, that's even for my bears out there, even for my people out there saying, Tim, it's over. We got to sell off. Don't sell off yet. You're going to get a relief bounce. Sell off probably a little closer to 110,000 if you're convinced it's time to go on and move on from the crypto markets. So again, I don't think anything necessarily special right here. Some people will know. I'm not going to tell you guys here what I'm trading. We did win a trade this morning. Believe it or not, we traded a long this morning, had a nice little profit there. We're looking at another one. One of the reasons why is because I do think this 1-hour chart is very close to turning bullish on us. And with the 4-hour chart kind of being in a spot that's kind of tinkering and thinking about having a bullish divergence and has money flow coming in positively, this could mark a pretty significant move to the upside. If you want to know where I'm entering, what I'm looking at to enter, and where I want to take profit, I'm going to save that information for our VIP trading group. If you're sitting here saying, Tim, this indicator looks super cool, guess what? When you join the VIP trading group, not only do you get my trades, other pro traders trade, a great Discord group, you also get this indicator for free, and I'll teach you how to use it to start winning money today, whether the markets are falling or rallying. Our trades are profitable over the last couple of weeks. Portfolios, long-term holds, definitely red. Trading, we're up, and I'll teach you how to do it in that VIP trading group. It's time to smash the like and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's also time to bring Shrum up, our news guy who's going to cover news. If you want to know more about the news, though, guess what? This isn't the only place you see this man. This man is live every single morning on his own channel, making sure you're up to date with all the news. So check that out. Shrum, what's the name of that channel right now?
Taylor Shrum.
Nice and simple and easy. Shrum, what's going on in the news today? What do you know about?
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and get on into it. Why have been some of the reason there's been uncertainty is because of a lack of information. Well, we're going to be getting a 1-2 whammy this week. We're going to be getting an employment situation report, a special report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics on November 20th at 8:30 a.m. We're getting back into that trickle of data that we're so used to that we haven't been getting because of the government shutdown. Well, the government's no longer shut down, so we're going to be getting that data. But it's not just November 20th that you need to have your eyes peeled on. It's also November 19th. So that's Wednesday. That is when NVIDIA is going to be posting their earnings. And we have some breaking news on NVIDIA. Peter Thiel's hedge fund dumps NVIDIA's stake. They also cut their position in Tesla as well. But this is interesting because this follows a development where SoftBank actually unloaded billions of their positions in NVIDIA's stake. Okay. Now, that's stock side stuff, but what you need to know about is that NVIDIA's earnings is happening on the 19th. Make sure you don't miss out on that, because that is certainly going to steer sentiment one direction or another. And I will say, my hunch is that regardless of what NVIDIA does and how well they performed, I think the market is going to be disappointed. And that's just because of how overbought the sentiment is over in the AI stock space. And if you've been tuning into the morning news, I've given you all a readout of why I think that's actually very bullish. We want to see some shedding in the AI stock names. Maybe you don't, because it's a big part of your portfolio watching and listening right now. But as a crypto investor, I do want to see some liquidity start to rotate out of that over exuberant AI stock trade. Okay, so BLS data on the 20th and then NVIDIA on the 19th. Now, one of the reasons why we've been seeing such downside for Bitcoin is because OG whales have been selling. And if you look at the top rung here of this graph from Glassnode, you can see that the top rung here is the more than 20,000 Bitcoin holding address, sold off a decent amount in February 2025, and then the selling has picked up here from September through into the present. But you'll notice that it has started to conclude. This redness that you see here has now turned into a golden period. And you may not think this is important, but one of the most sophisticated on-chain analyst organizations, Glassnode, does. And they describe it like this: distribution pressure is beginning to ease across key cohorts. After weeks of heavy spending, meaning selling, several holder groups are now moderating their selling, a sign that the most aggressive supply may be starting to fade as Bitcoin trades at negative 25% off the highs. And if you think about it, if I'm an OG whale, I bought at $100 Bitcoin, $1,000 Bitcoin. OG whales are 7 years or more holders of Bitcoin. I don't want to sell my Bitcoin as prices go down, right? I want to sell my Bitcoin as prices go up. Okay. So if you do a simple calculus there, the investment logic is lacking the lower we go for Bitcoin's price. So just keep that in mind. There is going to be a breaking point. Maybe it's this CME gap. Maybe we get oversold more to the downside from the CME gap. But just keeping all that in mind, it does paint a little bit more of a bullish picture for you all, that the huge big whale sellers that have come to the table and started offloading and kind of creating this post-IPO type of dynamic for Bitcoin, their selling may be coming to an end. Now, Tim, with NVIDIA earnings and BLS data coming out later this week, as well as the whales showing signs that they are actually going ahead and taking their foot off the gas when it comes to selling, is any of this kind of screaming to you one direction or another? Be bullish, be bearish?
Yeah, I think something's going to be very interesting to think through. And I want to make very clear, this is a theory, a working theory we got to go through here. But there's some logic to it. If you're sitting here saying, oh, if AI is about to crash, that means everything's going to crash because it's holding up the markets, I would make an actual argument that is AI about to crash because it was taking everything from the markets, right? It was money flowing into AI instead of other places. And now that it's extremely overpriced, I mean, there's no two ways to look at it. The charts, when you look at NVIDIA or when you look at other key AI stocks, it's disgusting how overbought they are. It doesn't make sense how overbought they are. It's possible. I want to be very clear. It is possible that people are removing their money from NVIDIA and other AI stocks, and they're preparing for a large bear market. It's possible. Again, it doesn't necessarily fit my way of thinking about it logically with all the other things coming in, like I said, probably run my 8. If you guys are watching back, my 8 reasons to be bullish. Let me break that down. The charts are saying we're getting oversold and need to go up to the upside. The news is saying there's some big events coming. And the economy is saying we're about to give you more reasons to be bullish, not giving you reasons to be bearish. What I actually could easily see here, Shrum, is a wise move to not say that AI is done. This is not a call against AI and saying, man, AI is under a bubble that's going to pop and turn into the 2008 mortgage market or the housing market. It's not an issue of saying AI isn't valuable. It's that AI is just not as valuable as those charts suggest. It's that concept of the bigger you are, the harder you fall. The higher you jump, the more pressure on your kneecaps when you land, right? NVIDIA and AI have taken off like a bottle rocket. And even if they were to, let's look at something real quickly. Let's go take a look at NVIDIA. And I want to put this into perspective so you understand what even a decent collapse on NVIDIA would do to the cycle overall. NVIDIA has taken off like crazy. Yes, it had a nice little correction back here in March, but it's just continued to go highs, topping out here just a couple of weeks ago. Let's just see right here at $184, what would happen? You guys know that like in the stock market, and this is why people are confusing with Bitcoin. I see this all over the place. Like, oh, Bitcoin's officially in a bear market. It's down 20%. And the definition of a bear market is down 20%. I was like, okay, well, that means Bitcoin's in a bear market every couple of months then. But in the stock market, stock people look at that and say, oh, 20%, that's a pretty big deal. Where would the price of NVIDIA be if the stock fell 20%? We're talking about $169. Let's just draw that. What would that look like if price fell 20%? It would look like this. When you have this crazy of a rally, that doesn't really look that bad, does it? What if NVIDIA fell 50%? What if we saw a massive correction? That brings us down to 104. That means the price would look like this. It'll be bounced, okay? When you zoom out, that's really not that bad. Why is a 50% correction on NVIDIA not that big of a deal? Because the rallies have been so outrageously high. It could correct 50% and still be in a very strong bull trend of higher highs and higher lows. So this concept of saying, oh, if NVIDIA crashes, the whole market's going to go to hell. No, it means this asset class has rallied so far, so fast, so explosively, it has room to fall 20 to 50% and still be extremely bullish. I would keep my eyes on this former high back here. By the way, what would that percentage down be? I would keep my eyes right here around 152, almost a 30% correction. And all that liquidity would now be free to add to other liquidity bags to go buy the other asset classes that maybe haven't performed as well. One of them possibly being Bitcoin. You look at the likes of like Ethereum, for example. I think there's a story from Tom Lee coming up here in a second with his thoughts on Ethereum. When you look at the emerging technology classes that are being raved about, being adopted, but yet aren't getting this bullish momentum because you see NVIDIA and other AI stocks taking all of liquidity. I'm not calling the end of the bull market to say it's not crazy to think these overpriced stocks coming back down to earth would be extremely bullish for the other stocks and cryptos that have not had a successful 2025. It's called moving the liquidity around, and it's something that wealthy people do. Why would I right now, if I'm worth $1 billion, why would I go buy NVIDIA right now looking at that chart? That just doesn't seem right to me at all. Again, when I can wait for a 30% correction and get a much better position that makes way more sense. By the way, let's see what the indicators are saying. Oh yeah, the indicators are saying weekly sell signal right here, by the way. We've been overpriced here since back in here. It looks like we're finally ready to start making a move here. I'm going to wait on NVIDIA. I'm going to take profit on NVIDIA, and I'm going to move it into something else that is showing me longer term upward trajectory. Like I said, the Bitcoin chart right now, when you look at the weekly chart, getting very close to printing a buy signal. You got to look at these wealthy people. And unless you believe that the stock market and the economy is about to collapse into oblivion similar to 07 or 08, unless you believe that, you got to be looking at this, tracking what's coming and saying, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Now, again, maybe you think the economy is about to collapse. Maybe you think we're about to fall apart. good. Sell it all off. Prepare yourself. Go buy a hut in the woods and prepare for the end of the world. That's not what I'm living in. You go off my screen now, Smay. That's not the world I'm living in, but you're welcome to think that way if you want. I think we're about to see a massive, massive, massive swing in liquidity. AI's been running the ship. They've done a great job. I think we're about to see other technology get a little bit of a boost while AI cools off, keyword, not crash, cools off, and it continues its run maybe next year.
Yep, absolutely. And those of you who've been joining me in the morning news, you know that is right on exactly what we've been tracking, right? Is that NVIDIA is the one that really needs to cool off and slow down. I think some of that money is going to rotate out into crypto. But there are a lot of emerging competitors like Qualcomm and other energy infrastructure that's going to support AI that will get a bid as well, that get a rotation. We have some breaking news here that I wanted to share before we get into Tom Lee's quotation, and that is this. Fed Governor Waller supports quarter-point rate cut on December 10th meeting. So Fed Waller is cruising for his candidacy as the new Fed chair coming in May. Fed Waller is my favorite to win that position. Not a position I would want going into this new digital age, but for the Federal Reserve. But this is what the spread looks like in reaction to that. Not really too much different. Still, actually, the percentage increased for no change on that. So interesting. Maybe that's an initial impulse in the wrong direction for that spread, but that's what we see there. Tom Lee he was on CNBC and he got interrupted a little bit at the front end of this clip. I encourage you all, go follow. The link is in the description, but go follow us on Tim Warren Trades. If you're watching on Twitter right now, hit the follow button. If you listen to the front end of this clip, it sounds very much like Tom Lee says that Ethereum will bottom this week in his personal opinion, right? So go listen to it. Let me know in the comments, is that what you hear? I would scroll down and show you what the commenters have said so far, but showing unproofread content from Twitter on YouTube is usually not a good idea. So I won't do that. Tim, does Ethereum bottom this week, as Tom Lee seems to be predicting?
Yeah, Tom Lee's got some predictions wrong here recently. I still like the man. I still think he's smart. He's smarter than me. I don't see his predictions of 175 Bitcoin, 175K Bitcoin, by the way, and 7,000 Ethereum by end of year. I'm gonna go ahead and say, Tom, we're swinging too far for the fences on that prediction. Again, I've just done a bunch of analysis in this show about why I think the bottom is extremely close. When you look at support levels, when you look at the death cross, when you look at the volume coming in. By the way, go to my chart here, Smay. When you look at Ethereum, remember here a couple of weeks ago, I told you watch out for the golden pocket coming here down at 29.38 to allow as low as 28.58. Very, very close. Very, very close. Is Bitcoin's close? Ethereum's looking close. Bitcoin dominance at this point has just paused, even though it's fallen below support levels. Right, that's the whole thing. It's actually trending down right now, but it's paused. I think we're very close to some major bottoms, even for Ethereum here. By the way, you start to turn on some indicators here. I think this is also, obviously you have this level of former high back here. Yeah, we just crossed below the weekly smart trail. So now that weekly sell signal that Ethereum was under is now done and complete. Just like Bitcoin, you're starting to see the buy signals on lower time frames coming in, suggesting we're close to a weekly buy signal. That oscillator's rounding over, the money flow's rounding over. I'm not saying it's this week, but this indicator, you got to remember, we're never going to pinpoint the bottom perfectly. The buy signal will probably come in a week or two after the bottom is in. It's showing me very close. So this week or next week, Tom, I think is going to be a very interesting week to watch. So I'm going to agree with him. I think the bottom is in this week, but I'm going to continue to watch it. Like you might say, Tim, what do I do with that information? I think it's in. I still wait for confirmation. If you think I'm just blindly buying crypto because Tom Lee tells me to buy crypto, I love the man. I think he's very smart. I don't just blindly follow anybody. I do my own analysis. I think for myself, and I buy when I'm good and ready to buy. I have a buy level at 39.38, and I will watch to see if a reversal comes in before that or a little after, and I'll maybe dump a little bit more into Ethereum as well, because I still do think Ethereum and the whole ecosystem is part of the emerging technology world that I think AI stock can get transferred into moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. So That CME gap, Tim, is that officially completely closed now?
Oh,
What's the price?
The CME gap is officially closed, ladies and gentlemen. If you're still waiting on it,
Gotcha.
it is done and gone. I'm not saying that means we have to, start going up. We are back above 92 on Bitcoin. Be patient, be careful with it. But the CME gap is officially closed. We've been looking at that since April. Don't look at it anymore. If you want to know where's the next CME gap, let's take a look here real quickly, because there's going to be people freaking out. We closed this one way back here. Let's turn some indicators off here. Close this one back in here. I think if you're going to freak out about another gap, close that one right in here. Then technically, I think you'd have to collapse. I could maybe do a little analysis and see if there's anything. There's nothing major sticking out until you drop all the way down here to 19,870. So drop a 449. I want it to be difficult because I don't think you guys should put this number in. If you think we're going to fill the next CME gap, drop a 449 in chat. Random number, because that would be a random thing to happen. But that's what we're looking at right now. All major CME gaps that are realistic have been closed.
Yeah. Well, there's been a couple of assets that have done really well. Gold being one of those assets. But if you go to my screen, there's another asset that Crux of Crypto is putting out a video at the end of this live stream. If you just stay on this live stream and don't click away, you will immediately be directed to this video on Zcash. Zcash and other privacy narrative coins and assets have had a pretty smashing November so far. So if you want to learn more about that and what Crux of Crypto, our fundamental channel, has in terms of analysis for this project, stay tuned there. Crux of Crypto is the channel. Yeah.
Someone said in chat, I want to give flowers where flowers are due. I'm looking at it. Snuck up on me. Technically, there is I just want to be very accurate with people. I don't want to walk away and you guys have misinformation. I guess this is something that Tom Crown did point out, and I'm looking at it. He is right. There actually is another gap at 59,755. It's sneaky. It doesn't stick out to the charts on you, right? There's no big gap. What happened was, and this is why it's so important to understand what these candles mean. If you go back to Thursday, October 10th, wow, that's weird to have a gap on a Thursday and a Friday. On Thursday, October 10th, we closed at 59,790. Okay.
Oh, wow.
When we opened back up on Friday, we opened up at 60,230. We did wick a little lower to 59.90, but there, theoretically speaking, it's possible. Again, I'm not saying we're going this low. I just want to put the information out there. It is possible that there are some buy orders that did not get filled right here as low as 59,790 or something like that. So we'll keep that on the chart. That's significantly lower from here, but shout out to whoever dropped that in chat, and shout out to Tom Crown for noticing that. That is one that sneaks up on you. It's not so obvious. So there you go.
Very cool. Yeah, well, that's all for me in terms of news, Tim. I mean, I think the biggest thing I'm thinking about this week is, could that jobs data that comes out from the BLS, could that potentially tip the scales to give the Federal Reserve no choice but to cut rates? We would need to see that hiring has slowed even more and that firing has picked up. And I think that because of how long the government was shut down and how much data it was supposed to print, we may see this special report from the BLS reveal exactly that. The opposite side of that is they don't. And the BLS data comes out and says, actually, the labor market is dynamic and resilient even through November. So that is what I'm keeping my eye on. Obviously, the NVIDIA earnings, important too, and how the market digests those earnings through the rest of the week. That's what I've got my eye on.
There we go. I'm looking at chat here. I'm going to start getting some chat questions. I don't know how much time we're going to have for a bunch of charting here. Not a lot of stuff is moving, but we'll do a video tomorrow. Look out for tomorrow, 3 p.m. tomorrow. I will actually be live again. We're not going to go a full hour tomorrow. It'll be like 20 to 30 minutes. But come back tomorrow at 3 p.m. I'm actually going to be live with you. We'll look at some charts here. Hod1 Crypto 87, I guess. Quite a name. Said, been in crypto for years, and I'm scared. You guys are saying you're not scared, are lying. I bought ETH at $181, and I'm still scared. JK, I'm freaking love you guys, but I'm definitely focused up right now. I think there's a good chat. Good chat. Because I want to be very clear with people. If you're thinking that I'm sitting here cool as a cucumber, not worried at all, well, that's not accurate. I want to be very accurate. And I've said this a couple of times. I want to communicate with a lot of people here. We got over 1,000 people watching here on YouTube. Almost another 1,000 are watching on X. Shout out to all of you guys. Make sure to smash that like button. So glad you're here. I'm concerned. I could absolutely be wrong. All of my optimism that I come to you guys with every single day, it's not based on blind trust or blind feelings. I have analysis, I have reasons and evidence as to why I feel bullish still. I'm not just sitting here on a bunch of hopium. But I also know things can happen that are outside of your purview that make you wrong, right? I wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong, and it won't be the last time I'm wrong. I'm bullish, but I'm aware I could be wrong and things could go lower. So when I say here, I'm not scared, there's a level that I am scared. There is a level. No one wants to watch their portfolio drop. But let me explain to you why I don't come across very fearful and why I'm not going to present as fearful and I'm not going to act fearful. It's because of two big things. I had a friend ask me a couple weeks ago. He's still deciding if he wants to get in crypto or not. He's like, I'm just worried. I'm worried about crypto and the technology. And obviously I'm reading stuff about like, the quantum computing and how it could hack code and maybe Bitcoin's going to go to zero. Whether that's your reason to be bearish about crypto or not, let's just sit here and let's talk through it. If you believe that cryptocurrency is going to zero, whether it be for quantum computing or something else, go ahead and sell right now and never get back into it. And I'm not trying to be mean or rude. I'm saying follow your conviction. If you're really sure about that, get out of it now because it's going to get really bad really fast. You want to know why I wouldn't do it? Because in my concept of how I think this would go, let's pretend crypto goes to zero. Let's pretend all of this technology goes to zero. Let's pretend quantum computing hacks Bitcoin and reads it and steals it all. You know that if that happens, the last of my concerns are going to be what my net worth in money is. By that point, if that happens, my bank account has been drained long before my crypto account has been drained due to quantum computing. And more than likely, we're dealing with a situation where there is worldwide chaos, worldwide war, and absolute anarchy happening. And I'm going to be more worried about, do I have food and shelter and a way to protect myself and my family? I don't care what my online portfolio looks like. That's reason number one. I'm putting my eggs in a basket because if that basket falls apart, the whole world's falling apart. Number two, I tweeted this out, got a good amount of responses. Some people liked it, some people hate it, but I'm gonna say it for you again, and I'm going to tell you why I'm so bullish. I've said it several times in the show. I don't think I'm going to have to, but I am willing to round trip this bear market again. Let's pretend Bitcoin does go to like 50,000 or 30,000. Let's pretend that altcoins do drop another 30 to 40%. Let's be honest, altcoins can't drop that much further. They're already pretty far down. I'm just going to hold on. I'm going to ride the roller coaster. I'm going to hold the coins that I have heavy conviction in because I think the future, when the bull market does come back, whether it's Q1 of 2026 or Q1 of 2027, they will roar to new all-time highs as institutions jump in on this emerging technology. But this is it. When you face a soldier in battle, and anyone who's been in the military, I was in the military, thank you so much for your service and what you've done for myself, my family, and all of us in this country. The worst soldier to come across in battle and to face in battle is somebody who's not afraid to die. Okay? They're crazy. They're capable of anything. That is terrifying. When it comes to the composite man and the manipulation that happens in these markets, the worst thing that a composite man person wants to see is a retail investor like me that does not care if I round trip my bags. Why? Because the whole point of what they're doing with manipulation is to shake out weak-handed retail investors. The minute they are gone, that's when the bull market will start. So while I think the bottom is close, I think it's pretty obvious. You look at Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index spending 2 days down at 10 here recently. When you look at the comment section on Discord and on Instagram and on X and on YouTube, the negativity being displayed right now, weak hands are leaving in droves. When they are completely gone, that is when the bottom will be in. I think it's close. Maybe it's a little bit later. But at the end of the day, as I stand across the battlefield from the composite man, I'm not going to flinch when news comes out, either bullish or bearish or price does up or down. I'm going to continue to hodl on and round trip this bear market if it ends up coming. That's what makes me a dangerous retail investor to the composite man. And as we just said, there are some OGs who have sold Bitcoin here recently. Guess what? They bought Bitcoin. A lot of these we were looking at like 7-8 years ago. They bought Bitcoin in the hundreds And they went through 2017 at $20,000. And they went through 2021 at $60,000. I don't know why getting to 126 would make them sell, but at the end of the day, they round tripped several times and still had a massive payday. So while I don't think the bottom is in, if it's not, and we go a whole lot lower in a bear market, I'm going to sit here and hold all the way through. This allows me to be comfortable day in and day out about doing analysis, planning my future, because I know the future is bright, whether that's tomorrow or a year from now. I'm not selling. I'm not going anywhere. You've got to learn to get yourself to that position. I understand you're afraid. I understand you're scared, and I cannot promise you there's not further downside to go. But I can tell you, for your own sanity and for your long-term future, if you can get yourself into a mindset where you say, I don't care what you say or do, Composite Man, you're not going to convince me to leave. That's when you become a very powerful investor and long-term reap the rewards of your long-term holding. So that's my little word of encouragement to you guys today. We love you guys here. It's 4:01. We're going to wrap it up. I will be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock. By the way, forgot to do this. I'm terrible at this. I'm absolutely terrible at this. We have a sponsor for today's video, and they're a great sponsor, and I really do really should have talked about them earlier. Their name is Toobit. This is the new exchange that I'm using. If you want to trade with me and you want to be in our VIP trading group, I encourage you to trade with me over on Toobit. We're winning money whether things are going up or down. Toobit has fantastic fees, fantastic customer service. It is my exchange of choice. And oh, by the way, we're about to announce this in the next coming week. We will start to do giveaways for all of our Toobit users and depositors. We'll explain to you how you can sign up, not only for giveaway memberships in our community, but also we'll be doing some cash giveaways as well. But you got to sign up with our Toobit link down below in the link tree. It's going to look a little something like this. If I can get to it, go click on our link. Go to my screen here real quickly. Go to our link, click on the link tree. Find Toobit, second link right there. Go sign up right now. Start trading on Toobit today. Get some great prizes in there, and also look for some giveaways happening in the near future. That officially is all I have for you on today's show. If you enjoyed it, again, smash the like, hit subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Adios.